Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you're coming from. Hope y'all are doing well. Whew. Welcome back to Twitch, y'all. Feels good. Feels real good. Let me turn the music down just a little bit. I think it's a little too loud. There we go. Oh, I was muted. Oh no. See, I'm out of practice, folks. I'm out of practice. Been traveling, missing classes, but blessed to be back last week. Let's get it. Let's go get exactly. Miss y'all so much. Me too. Me too. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. Got a lot of folks in here early. The deal. Hey, what's going on? Oh, thanks everybody for the subs already. Let's see. Omendo, thank you for the 1 month. Cookie Codes, thank you for the 10 months. Hey y'all. Hey Cookie, how you doing? Funny commentary with the 12 months. 1 year later and I still have imposter syndrome. Just at a job now. Let's go. Let's go indeed. I don't know what those butt emotes are, but I'll take them. The imposter syndrome doesn't go away, folks. It doesn't go away. We just learned to manage it a little bit better, right? We learned to manage it a little bit better, and we learned to realize that it's part of the process. Whenever I'm picking up a new language, a new framework, I go into it having no idea what the hell I'm doing, having no idea how it works, and I have to spend a lot of time on Discords and IRC channels, and Stack Overflow. That doesn't change, folks. It doesn't change. Hold on, folks. We got so many people coming in here. Sergio Holograms with the 9 months. Let's go. Still in the hunt. We're here for you tonight. Thank you. The deal with the 10 months. Thank you for being here. Noxia with the 11 months. Let's go. Mayan with the 12 months. Let's go. Green with the bruh. Dab A, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate you. Congratulations, by the way. Our last class, right? Our I keep saying air quotes because we're not going anywhere, is on Thursday, and we're blowing it out the water, folks. We're blowing it out the water. But I'm gonna have a lot of thank yous to give. Dab, you're on that list. So many people that put so much effort into what we've been able to build here together. And Dab, you deserve all the good things coming your way. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Catch DiGiorno, let's go get with the 10 months. Thank you so much. Catch DiGiorno. That's not a play on like the pizza company, right? Like that we've been here for a while. It's been 10 months, a little bit more than that. That's not a slight at Domino's, right? Okay, cool. We're good. We're good. Feels like our first class. A y'all so rich now. A lot of y'all are making good money now. I'll take it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. We got a lot of fun stuff tonight. Tonight is 2 parts. One, getting back on Twitch. Been missed. I love seeing y'all. We have a good group of folks that can only join us on Twitch, so it's good to see y'all. Welcome back. And we got some review to do. We have a lot of folks that weren't ready for the first cycle of the hunt, the first 49 folks that got jobs. What? We're at 49, folks. 49. I can smell 50, right? I can smell 50. 50 is like my internal big number, and I think we'll hit it before our last class. We have a lot of folks that are in the final interview. A lot of folks that I did 2 reference calls today. Once the reference call comes in, I kind of know that that's kind of a sealed deal for some of them. Like I can tell on the phone. So I think we'll hit 50 before Thursday, which would be absolutely wild. Hey Jane, thank you. After last class, we can finally graduate and get that coveted LinkedIn connect with you. Daddy Anki, yes, you can. So on Thursday, we'll talk all about graduation, what that looks like, certificates, things like that if you want them, even though we know certificates are worthless. But yeah, we'll do all that fun stuff on Thursday. We'll talk about graduation, what that looks like, and all the other fun stuff. Indifferent with the mock interview. I got you. We got so many folks in here. Sorry, let me get back through these. Cam Sauce, thank you for the 7 months. Scott, thank you for the 10 months. Let's go indeed. Flopsy, thank you for the 6 months. Thank you. And Zabby, thank you for the gifted sub. Indifferent A, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. Alrighty, folks. Like I said, Thursday is gonna be a class to be not missed. So here's the truth about Thursday's class. Just while we're kind of letting folks get in here, get into the groove of it. All right, so on Sunday I had a friend come visit me, and it's a friend that's been traveling for a little while. And the friend, I knew we were traveling, so I was like, hey, like let's they offer, they're like, hey, let me get a COVID test. So they got a COVID test. The COVID test, they had some sniffles, right? So they got a COVID test. The COVID test said that they were all good. No COVID detected, right? Nothing. It said not detected, got the green thumbs up. It was good. We hang out all day Sunday. And then Monday morning, somehow their test updated from no detection to detected. Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing. What? It can go from not detected to detected? Like what? So they are not feeling too great. And I hung out with them all day Sunday. So my wife and I were kind of like in a lockdown mode. Like we don't want to get anyone sick or anything like that. And so I've never heard of that before. No, this was like an like doctor's like urgent care test, like a legit like PCR test and everything that went from not detected to detected later, like the next day. So all that being said, my wife and I are like in lockdown mode. They're not doing the traveling that they were going to do. We're staying safe indoors. And all that goes to say is that the mariachi band we had planned for Thursday, they can't come. So we're going to save the mariachi band for another day. But that's kind of the level that we're trying to bring in for Thursday. The guests that I had coming, we can't do that, but it's still going to be, it's going to be momentous. It's going to be a moment to never forget. So come on Thursday for our last class. We're going to talk through all the wonderful things. Next cohort. We're going to talk about graduation, all that fun stuff. Yeah. That's why you should hang out with people. Exactly. I learned my lesson. I am vaccinated, so fingers crossed everything goes well. Hopefully it's not a breakthrough infection, and we're all good. But yeah, no mariachi band for Thursday. Stop saying last class. I always try to say it with like air quotes, because we ain't going anywhere. And even so, we're gonna talk through kind of like what the next schedule is gonna look like. But tonight is helping those folks that are still in the hunt, folks that are starting the hunt because they were part of that kind of like second wave that we have of kind of synthesizing everything I know about getting a job into one class. So if you're on the hunt, you're about to start the hunt, or maybe you've already secured a job, but you just want to button up everything because remember, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but even if you got the job, you should stay on top of the things that we cover tonight because you never know how the first 3 months go. I hate to always bring that up, but I'm a realist, right? I've seen lots of folks get into a job and they kind of slow down a little bit. They don't take it as seriously. And so make sure you stay on top of your stuff in these first 3 months. And so that's kind of the thing that also is worthwhile if you're here tonight to keep all this stuff in mind as well. All right. Let me just pull something up over here. Alrighty. Cool. Let's get into it, folks. I'm going to go ahead and switch to Lilian here. I'm going to chill our music. Alrighty. Starting the hunt here, just finished the bank doing leak coding. Well, the beautiful thing is, oh, whoa, thank you. That Kid Neptune, thank you for the 10 months. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. right? The beautiful thing is that we got a lot of stuff that we're doing, right? That's going to help you if you're still on the hunt or getting started on the hunt. If you're kind of close, this is for you. And like I said, if you are joining a company, you're one of the 49 that already got an offer and you're starting, this is stuff that you still need to keep like up. So I wanted to put all these different pieces that were across all these different classes into one location so you can come back to it. Whenever somebody says, I want to get a job in tech, this is where we send them. So I'm going to ask that you ask questions as we go through this, please, so that the folks that watch this later on YouTube or the folks that watch this later, when they say, hey, Leon, I want to get a job in tech, this is what I'm sending them to. So ask your questions so that their questions are answered through you, right? So that's what we're going to do through. All right. Aubrey A6, it is. Alrighty, let's get into it. Now, for this to be successful, we got to go back. We got to go back a couple months, maybe even further than a couple. And we're going to bring in everything from like what your resume should look like, all the way through how to evaluate the time complexity of an algorithm. We're doing all of it tonight. So if you're at any stage in the process, from thinking about starting the hunt, the hunt is what we call our job search process, or you're thinking about like, I'm on the job now, I want to keep these things fresh, this is for you. This is for you. Okay. But to do that, got the Libra mug. There we go. Let's get into it. Tonight, we're going to talk about, are you ready? Yes, you are. Scott, thank you for the hydration. We're going to talk about how to get an interview, how to get past the first round in the interview, and how to get past other rounds in interviews, right? That's the goal. We're going to go from kind of building out your online presence to how to network, how to get those interviews, to reviewing our data structures and algorithms, to ending with the next cycle of our data structures and algorithms prep daily. Does that mean that that I spend all my 150K points by Thursday? We're not going anywhere. Those channel points, they're gonna keep going up in value. The rewards will get greater. When we come back for the next cycle of 100 devs, we're gonna have lots of other great channel point redemptions. So you don't have to splurge between now and tomorrow. We still got a lot of things going on. All right, folks. We got one more class. Thursday, right? Thursday. We have our Friday tea. They're continuing. Even though class is done, we're still going to have our tea spills on Fridays. We got a lot of great folks that are now kind of getting started on the job and they want to come back and spill the tea. So Friday, we're still going to have our tea spills. We're going to keep Sunday office hours up. We have a lot of new folks that join and they have a lot of questions they want to ask. We have a lot of folks that are in the hunt and have questions they want to ask, right? All right. So Sunday office hours are still sticking. A lot of folks are confused about the mug. Like I said, my alleged name is Leon Noel. My alleged birthday could be in May. It could be in October. You'll never know. You look it up online. I've already manipulated it. All right. So I got to keep you guessing, tiptoeing, you know? All right. Our daily question stand up is restarting. We restarted today. So you should join us. We went all the way back to reversing a string. So if you know that you are not keeping up with your data structures and algorithms prep, you should join us every Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We have the Mega Summer Daily channel that you can join. And in that channel, I will be posting a question every night. And the next day we will solve it together. We're going to be practicing our prep. If you don't know what prep is, don't worry. We're going to go through that tonight again. We're going to be practicing solving out these challenges. We like to talk through different ways of solving the same challenge. We like to talk through the runtime complexity, the time and space complexity of our challenges. So if you know that you have not been keeping up with your data structures and algorithms, yes, you, right? Or you're just starting out, yes, you can join us every day at 6 p.m. Eastern time to review. All right. We normally have a big crew. We normally have like 40 plus folks that are on that call every Monday through Friday, right? All right. Every Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Now, the other beautiful thing is it's also your chance to get help as things come up that you need help with as part of the hunt. Like you need me to be a reference for you. You need me to look at your resume. Things aren't working out. That's your time to ask me every single day for help. You have that time every Monday through Friday to come and say, hey, Leon, I need this thing, and I will help you with it. A lot of times, if it's not like a class day, I'll just jump on a Discord call with you right after that call to help you out. I also share my calendar there first. So the folks that are doing the daily stand-up, they get first shot at my calendar. I have 30-minute sessions and 15-minute sessions open for my calendar now, where you can come and we can review your resume. I did a lot of resume reviews past couple of days. I did a lot of kind of practice interview questions with you. So if you're worried about, all right, Leon, I followed your advice that we're going to talk about tonight to build out my hit list. I followed your advice on the behavioral questions. I'm starting to get these second round interviews, but I don't feel comfortable. That's your time to book a time with me so we can do your practice. And that way you feel more comfortable going into these interviews. All right. So. Hold on. Daily stand up every Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. So tonight is a lot about getting folks at the same level for stand up. That's the goal. I want everyone that's coming to stand up to at least have all the same knowledge. That way we can move together as a group daily. Alrighty. I want people to know that my first 2 weeks on the job, I learned engineers go to meetings more than they code, at least at my startup. You'd be surprised. Absolutely. That's the thing. Everyone thinks that like coding or being an engineer is like fingers on keyboard time. It's not fingers on keyboard time. It's thinking, it's planning, it's understanding like how you're going to solve the problem, the way in which you're going to solve the problem. And it's a lot of meetings to figure all that stuff out. And it's also just a lot of time, like where you sit there and you like think about, all right, how can I actually solve this? Let me look it up. Let me have to dig through this code base that was written 4 years ago, right? 4 years ago, right? That took me all day to figure out. Like I had to like literally follow, jump, no documentation. Took me all day. That was my day of coding, right? So it's not just fingers on keyboard time. It's also the funny thing too is that like there was this thread that made it to the top of Learn Programming, and they asked, will like low code or no code solutions replace like the need for engineers? And it's like laughable because you would only think that if you've never been an engineer on an actual team and you see the work that a real engineer does. And so if you're curious about what an engineer actually does on the job, right? Once they've gotten their job, I got two things for you. One, come back Thursday. We're going to be talking about the agency and how you can work on teams for that agency. But the other thing too is our T-Spill sessions will transition from less how I got the job to more how I maintained the job and how I did well in those first few months on the job. So we got two things coming for you there. I'm excellent at attending meetings. There you go, Reggie. Somebody said that the stand-up channel maxes out at 40. No, the first time we did it, I tried doing like my video on, and when I have like my face cam on, it maxes out. But when I don't use my face, which I no longer do anymore, it doesn't max out. Yeah, we can have hundreds of people on it, and you can still see my screen, you can still hear me. I just don't do video of my face. As much as you want to see it, you can come here to Twitch to get all that. Oh, OCC, I do. I can't wait. Can't wait to bring them on for sure. Alrighty, folks. Just talked about it. We have more one-on-one slots that are open. Come to stand up tomorrow if you want access to my calendar, so that you can get that help that you need one-on-one. Our tea spill this Friday is none other than Dab themselves. Super excited to have Dab join us. If you haven't paid attention to the celebration channel on Discord, what are you doing? So many wins. I literally can't keep up with the number of folks getting jobs in that Discord channel. You definitely should take a look. We don't get got, we go get. Exactly, Dab. So if you want to come and hear from 100 Devs' very own, Dab will be joining us this Friday for the tea spill, which happens at 6:30 on our Remo channel. And the reason why we do it on Remo in our classroom is because we share all the nitty gritty, folks. We share all the details, the salaries, the things that went well, the things that went horribly wrong. We don't want that recorded and put out into the world. So come join us in our classroom on Friday if you want to hear about how they went through their journey of learning to code and ultimately getting a phenomenal job. Where do we book time? Come to stand up tomorrow, and I'll give you the new links for my calendar. Alrighty, folks. While we're here, before we jump into class and we go back, I always like to pause and see if folks have any questions while we're here. I kind of laid out kind of what the next week or so will look like. We have class on Thursday. We have T-Spill on Friday. We have our office hours on Sunday. So any questions before we blast back to the past, folks? Leon, you gonna do a class about burnout and how to avoid it? Once I figure out how to avoid burnout, I'll let y'all know. I got some ideas around it. I have a set of classes that I've been working on that will be for like once folks are on the job, right? We've had like two waves of folks getting jobs. Like the first wave, they've been on the job like a month or so now. And like the second wave that just happened, I feel like a month from now, folks will be on the job. So I think like a month from now, we'll be having like the next cycle of 100 devs, but we'll also be having some classes about like being on the job, succeeding on the job, things like that. And we'll be bringing in a lot of like guests to help with that. Yeah. We have some videos that are still not on the YouTube channel. It's a great question. They should go up. I messed it up. I had them all like loading and for some reason it didn't work. So I have to go back and redo all of the cards and get all the videos up, but they will go up. I'm hoping like before Thursday's class, everything will finally be back up. There are a few that made it up there, but there's still quite a few that have to go. So working on that tonight and tomorrow. And so hopefully by Thursday's class, everything will be up to date. Also, when is our personal finance class? That's a great question. So we actually have someone that's volunteered to lead a personal finance class. They've helped some of my students in the past with their finances once they've gotten a job. And so like I said, once we get out of like this week, next week, and folks are actually starting, we're going to have some classes that'll be for folks that are on the job. And so that'll be one of them. Cool. How common is it for recruiters to reach out for an opportunity and then ask for a copy of the resume, and why? It's pretty common. A lot of times recruiters just want to know if you're interested and if you might be a fit for the role. And then a lot of times they need your resume to either like confirm that or to then escalate your application up the chain, right? And so they might have determined that you might be a good fit for the role, but they need your resume to then hand it off to the actual person making the hiring decision. Looking at any other questions went ahead here. Cool. Will there be a class on how to set up an offshore tax haven? You can ask the financial advisor that comes. They might be able to help you. Not me though. Best code wars, leak code problems to do for practice or prep. So Rockefeller, if you go through our Mega Summer Daily channel, there are questions that I've curated for you to practice to get better at your data structures and algorithms. And they're all based on problems that I've seen students have to solve in the past. The beautiful thing is that I help a lot of folks, right? I help a lot of folks to interview. Like I literally help them with their interview problems. That means I've seen hundreds of interview problems and they all kind of shake down to a lot of similar things. And we're going to talk about that tonight for sure. But that Mega Summer Daily channel has the highlights, the best things to work through. And then you can look to the past and see all the ones we did in the past, or you can join us now and do all the ones that we do going forward. Yeah. Software engineering goals for 1, 3, and 5 months. Indifferent answered this well. I totally agree. Your first month, you should be able to kind of get like a really solid commit in. 3 months, be able to kind of get commits on points in time. Like you got to be able to like get some of your work done. And then 5, you should be competent enough to program some tasks without significant help or guidance. Yeah, within the first 3 months, you can get away with whatever you want to get away with. You can get help on all the things, but around 5, 6 months is where that help kind of dries up, or the expectation is that it's really for like things that you really, really couldn't have figured out on your own. For coffee chats or starting out to build our network, should we reach out to recruiters or the general software engineer of company of interest? Both, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Crumb said, I've read about people getting FizzBuzz or inserting an API as their challenge stuff you taught us. Yes. You'd be surprised. The number of folks, I would say like the bulk of folks that have come to T-Spill that are like employed with great jobs, like good high paying jobs, the bulk of them either had no technical interview at all, or the question they were asked was like very close to the one that we covered either here in class or during the daily stand-up. So like I said, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not just kind of going, what problems should I? No, it's stuff I've seen my students have in the past. I got to remove dupes and sort an array question before. Stuff we did during stand-up. I love it. Dab had no live coding. That's so wild. Law said my tech question was covered maybe in week 2 of JS. That's why it's a numbers game, folks. A numbers game. All right, let's jump into it. We got a lot of stuff to get through. If you're new here, we always like to stay healthy, so we will be taking breaks at the top of the hour. We're at halfway in, so let's jump into it, folks. Do you need a degree? Absolutely not. I have helped hundreds of folks without degrees and no prior experience get jobs. You do not need a degree, especially you do not need a degree in like say computer science or something like that to get a job. To get a well-paid, great job, you don't need a degree. Cool. That leads me to a wonderful thing. Before we jump in, we have a raffle to do, right? We have a raffle to do. This raffle, there's 2 raffles tonight. The first raffle is for folks that submitted their blog post, like their finished blog post from the Hashnode challenge. Like if you've published an actual blog post from the Hashnode challenge, that'll be our first raffle tonight. And that's for a job guarantee where I get you a job or I pay you $1,000, All right. And then we're going to do another raffle at the end of class for another job guarantee. So if you want to participate in the job guarantee raffle at the end of class, make sure that you've checked in tonight, check in. And that way you can go ahead and enter the raffle for that job guarantee. And then we'll do them both at the end of class tonight, the one for the hash node raffle, and then we'll do the second for if you checked in tonight. It's been 2 weeks. Doesn't it feel like forever though? Jane said, I'm an inner city high school teacher and I teach computer science. I'm constantly telling my students that learning to code could change their future. Do you have any resources to show them I told you so? I can connect them with hundreds of people that are willing to tell them I told you so. If you want to set up like a cool panel with folks that have kind of the same background experience as they do, send me a DM on my Discord, Discord. I'll set that up for you. I just want to win something. All right, Jane. Cool. Let's jump into it, folks. All right. We need to talk. This is the hardest part of the process. You have put in work. Hey, Jane, thank you for the sub. Oh, Anonymous, thank you for the sub. You have put in the work. You've come to class. You've built stuff. Maybe you've come to stand up. You put in the work. This is the hardest part of the process. Converting all that work into a job. And the reason why this is one of the hardest bits of the process is because for a lot of folks, all that hard work isn't the actual thing that gets them the job. It's the stuff that helps them get past what we call sniff tests, but it's not actually the thing that gets them the job. So when folks get to the end, here's where I see them go awry. When folks get to the end, they have two paths. They can double down on the networking their way into a position, or they can double down on trying to add more tools to their tool belt. They will grab for more React. They will grab for another language. Maybe they'll say, oh, I see some jobs for Python. I got to learn Python, right? They'll start grabbing things that aren't actually coming up as part of the interview process, right? So they start grabbing on all these things. So that's one thing that makes this part of the process very difficult. You start to feel like you're drowning a little bit, and so you start reaching out and grabbing for anything that you think might keep you afloat. The second thing that happens is you're drowning a little bit, but you're also seeing all these people happily floating. And that can be soul crushing, right? When you feel like you're doing everything you can and it's just not converting, right? And you see other folks getting offers, you see other folks kind of getting that win, and you feel like as much as you're kicking and paddling, you just can't stay afloat. Eventually you feel like you just want to give up. So you have these two parts of the process. You're trying to grasp onto anything that'll help you stay afloat. You are losing hope and focus on staying afloat because you're seeing all the other folks happily floating. Those two things make this time in the hunt one of the most difficult times throughout the entire journey into software engineering. And the sad thing is that there is no real thing that's going to solve those two problems other than numbers. Let me say that again. Nothing you do will help other than numbers. And what I mean is that trying to grasp onto a lot of these new things won't help you. You're going to drown. giving up because you see other folks floating, you're going to drown. The only thing that helps, that will actually lead to a job, is to understand that when I said 60 applications, I really meant 60 applications. And so what you can do, and I know it's the hardest thing you can do, and this is not something I ask of you lightly, is to understand that this part of the process is almost like 90% not you. You could do every single thing right. Every single thing I've taught you, every single thing we covered tonight, you could do every single thing right and not get a job until you're significantly into the process because it's about numbers. I've done this for 10 years. I have seen some of the, what I would consider the brightest and most academically achieved folks struggle when the folks that in my perception, did not have the raw talent that they had walk into a job the next day. There is nothing in my 10 years of experience that I can point to and say confidently that if you did these things, you will get a job. If you grow in this area, you get a job. And it's because this industry is fucked. No one knows how to interview. No one knows how to gauge the success of someone on the job based on silly problems that they give you before you get into that job. No one has figured it out. What they do instead is try to find the less risky candidates or the candidates that they like. So when it comes to the hunt, right? When it comes to the hunt, it comes down to those two things. Can you code? And do I want to work with you for the next 2 years? And over and over again, if you can pass the sniff test and folks like you, you will be likely to get a job. But I've seen folks that I would say were the most competent coders I've ever seen. And I would have the folks that I would deem the most incompetent coders I've ever seen have the same level of success in this process. It boils down to numbers. You have to play the numbers game, and you have to have the mental fortitude to make it through all of those numbers. If you do all the things we cover tonight, you will pass sniff tests and you can absolve yourself of any of the guilt or pain that comes with not doing well in these interviews. If you do all the things we talk about tonight, you can say confidently, I am doing well, and it's just a matter of numbers. If you come to the daily stand-up, I will review your resume. I will review your portfolio, your LinkedIn. I will walk through a technical interview to see where you're at. And at the end, I will be brutally honest. I will be brutally honest about where you're at. And for a lot of folks, my answer is going to be everything looks great. Play the numbers game. It's about finding that fit. It's about finding the company that wants what you can provide. Your story, your ability, your past experiences that are going to make you a great engineer on that team, where it's a good fit with that team, and where your skill set can shine. But at this point in time, it's about numbers, not picking up a new skill set, not about anything other than crushing your hit list, getting more opportunities, and learning from each interview what you can do better for the next one. If you can do that, you can have the mental fortitude to go into these interviews knowing that it's a numbers game and that you're going to learn something each interview, you will get a job. All right. I've done 80 leak code easy problems and some mediums now. The only reason I'm doing this is to get comfortable with data structures and algorithms so I don't get caught off during an interview. That's great, right? Doing your data structure and algorithms prep is great. But for the bulk of companies, it won't matter. What? Leon, the YouTuber, told me that I need to buy their leak code course so that I can get a job. If I don't study these data structures and algorithms and I don't take this course I found on YouTube, I will be poor forever. The bulk of the 49 individuals that have gotten a job at 100 devs did not have a technical interview. Let me say that again. The bulk of folks that got offers above 70K, above 100K, did not have technical interviews. I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to invite you all. I'm going to play some music. I'm going to invite you all to say it with me. The bulk of individuals did not have technical interviews. So, if the bulk of individuals that got jobs did not have technical interviews, what are they doing to get a job? Well, that's what we're talking about tonight, folks. That's what we're talking through tonight. If you do all the things that we lay out tonight and you play the numbers game, you'll be set up to get a job. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do your data structures and algorithms. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do all the prep that we're going to be doing in that daily stand-up, because what that does is it tips the odds forever in your favor. But there are a lot of things other than just grinding problems they're going to help you get across that finish line. And so tonight I want to lay it out all on the table. I'm going to cover all of those things, but I really need folks in their heart of hearts to understand that you are enough. If you've been paying attention and following along with class, you have the skills necessary, and it's about getting enough interviews to where your wonderful self can shine through. All right. So now we've set the table. You're all bought in to the idea that, all right, we got to do some things we need to do, but you are enough. You're ready. The numbers game. Let's get into it. Here's the opposite side of that coin. Here is what most folks that don't hear that, this is what happens to them. I'm having trouble finding a job out of college, 400 plus applications with no luck. I've literally heard people tell me that they've applied to thousands of companies. Bruh. And that is honestly, and I don't even want to say it because it's just mean, is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You have to know that just clicking, right? Just clicking apply is doing nothing for you. It is doing absolutely zilch. It will not matter. You are better off, and I like to make this joke because it is true. If you're just clicking apply on these job applications, you are better off printing out your resume, lighting it on fire, and throwing it out your window. Because when you throw the resume that's on fire out your window, your neighbor across the street sees it They see that there is fire coming out of your apartment. They call the police and the fire department. The fire department rushes to your apartment. They kick down your door. They try to put out the fire that's not there. But when the firefighter kicks open your door to put out the fire, they see your VS Code open and they ask you and they say, "What is that? Are you writing code?" And they're like, "Yeah, I was writing code, and so I decided to print out my resume and light it on fire and throw it out the window." They're like, "Oh, that's what my nerdy brother does. He's an engineer at this company in town. You should talk to them." And so the firefighter that kicked in your door, feeling bad that they had kicked in your door because you had your headphones in and couldn't hear them knocking, feeling bad that they had kicked in your door, they connect you with their brother, and their brother actually isn't a coder. Their brother was playing a video game that had a coding component in it, and their brother introduces you to his best friend, and she has a job at a local tech company. And that brother's best friend that has the job at the local tech company actually then introduces you to the rest of their team that are all engineers. And you go in for the day, you kind of shadow the friend, and you find this team's a wonderful fit. And they actually offer to give you an interview right then and there. You do the interview and you get the job. That is a more plausible story for you getting a job in tech than clicking apply. Cass says, "I see this happening." So if you are clicking apply, take your mouse and rip off that you only have right click now. You're only allowed to use right click until you're done clicking apply. Do the things we talk about tonight. Clicking apply will not get you a job. All right. So you're like, "Leon, if clicking apply won't get me a job, what will?" Well, I got a checklist of things for you to start off with. And so this is the checklist. If you want the slides, you can do !slides here in chat. Bobby Lynn, hey, thank you for the gifted sub. Go ahead and click this slide. You go to !slides. In the slides is the link to the checklist. I believe it's also !checklist here in chat. Yep, !checklist here in chat. This is a checklist that was originally put together by Resilient Coders Director of Community, which is Stephanie, one of the wonderful folks. We call them the fairy job mother at RC because they're the ones that help all of our students get jobs. And they put together this checklist for you. This is the place you should start if you're clicking apply on places. Stop clicking apply and start with this checklist. Okay, !checklist. If you're watching this on YouTube, all the links will be in the description. The links to the slides will be in the description. If you haven't followed Stephanie yet, they share some amazing resources on getting jobs in tech. Definitely give Stephanie a follow. Can I copy this link here? There we go. I'm going to put them in chat real quick because you should definitely give them a follow. There you go. Cool. Let's take a look at this checklist. If you're clicking apply, stop and do this checklist first. You should have a story, a reasonable story from how you went to where you were to how you are a software engineer applying at their company. This story should be real. It should be natural. It should highlight the things that make you different than other engineers. You shouldn't shy away from your past experiences, but you should highlight your experiences in a way that makes you seem like a better fit for the job. If you are having a hard time, right? If you are having a hard time crafting your story, you can book a time with me and I will literally do it live with you. I'm pretty good at it. I think it's one of the skills I have is to help people craft their story. And I could typically do it pretty quickly. And so if you're doing daily stand-up with us, go ahead and book a time with me and we will craft your story together if you're having trouble. All right. First thing, you want to craft your story. You want to have a plausible reason as to why you're showing up in front of them to apply for an engineering role. If you say, let's just pick something out the air. This is a pretty common story for a lot of my students. Let's say you were in high school. And you left high school. You started working at T-Mobile selling phones, right? And then you worked the floor of Best Buy. And now you started 100 devs and you are trying to get a job as a software engineer, right? So this was your story, and this is just off the dome, right? You were in high school, you worked for T-Mobile, then Best Buy, and now you're a software engineer. So this is something that you would want to have as a story. So right out of high school, I went into sales. I really wanted to help individuals, right? I really wanted to figure out kind of the mechanics for how to sell individual products, because I knew the software I wanted to build, building is great, but eventually you have to sell your products as well. So I knew I had entrepreneurial dreams. Like I wanted to build a tech company one day. And so the first thing I did right out of high school is go into sales. When I was in sales, I realized, you know what? I picked up that skill set pretty quickly, but I wanted to kind of be closer to tech. So I joined one of the largest tech retailers. I was doing sales for them, on floor sales, and I was helping folks work through what product to choose for their next major purchase. And I realized, you know what? I was helping folks with hardware and making really concrete hardware decisions, but my real love was software. So the pandemic hit. I didn't want to do on the floor sales anymore. I felt like that would just put myself, my family at risk. So I doubled down on my entrepreneurial dreams. I started my own freelancing agency where I was building software products for individuals. I actually joined a larger agency after that called 100 Devs. I've been with them for a little bit over a year now, building software and software products for individuals. And now I'm ready to join a product. As much as I enjoyed agency life and switching between client to client, I want something that's a little bit more stable where I can grow and really build out a product. And that's why I'm here today. Right? So that's literally off the dome. You want to have a realistic story about how you went from high school to selling phones at T-Mobile, to selling computers at Best Buy, to your freelancing agency, right? To 100 Devs as an agency, to wanting to work at a product focused company today. And of course, if we spend time over a half an hour, that story will get a lot better. We'll narrow down on the things that make sense, but that's the goal. The goal is to come up with a story that's plausible, that helps you pass a sniff test, so that folks don't think this is your first experience with coding. If you're here watching this video, congratulations, you just joined our agency, 100 Devs. You are now a contractor working on freelancing projects. And so we're all doing these things to help us pass a sniff test that we'll get to in a few seconds. So craft your story. This is better than clicking apply. I'd rather you spend a whole day crafting your story, getting feedback on our Discord, Discord here in chat, and using that story to help you further along your ambitions of becoming an engineer. You're better off doing that than clicking apply, because even if you click apply and on the off chance a recruiter reaches out, you won't know how to convincingly tell your story as to why you deserve an interview. So start with your story. Then make sure you have a believable portfolio, right? Make sure that portfolio shows what you have done, shows that you are looking for work as a software engineer, and show that you can at least build a portfolio. So we have a portfolio that I linked to in the slides. In those slides, I'm going to stay back here. Hold on, I'm going to come back to this one. In the slides, I linked to Sean's portfolio, Here's Sean's portfolio. We have permission to share this. I think they might even be here right now. This is Sean's portfolio. They used a template. They put their very kind of simple earlier projects on here. They literally have an anime list on here. They have a nonprofit that they put on here. One of their larger projects they built with Node on here. So it's just like a good covering of the projects that they worked on. It is a template, meaning that they did not design this. Heck, they are not even using a real domain name. They are using a Netlify domain name, and they now work at Amazon. If you do not have a portfolio, you are overthinking it. Do what Sean did. Grab an amazing template that's very easy to change. Put your work on there. Make sure it links to all of your links so that when a recruiter Googles you, you come up and not the weird stuff you used to say on MySpace 10 years ago. All for free. Exactly. This is all free. This domain is free. This template is free. And it helped them on their way to becoming an engineer at a FANG company. Cool. So you've crafted your story. Your story is all about why are you here, right? Why did you show up, right? Like, why are you in front of me, the recruiter, or why are you in front of me, the engineering manager, right? And it's all about passing this sniff test. Because if you did 100 devs or you did RC or if you did some other boot camp, we have a lot of other folks that come from other boot camps that haven't been able to lock down a job, right? If you did another boot camp and you haven't been able to lock down a job, the reason why you did not lock down a job is because you smell. You have a stink. You have an odor, and that odor is of someone that has done a boot camp, right? You have a smell, and it's a smell that recruiters hate. It's a smell that hiring managers despise. And so what you want to do is transform your boot camp experience into something that smells like you were a professional, right, in a engineering role. Nobody wants to take a risk on someone that hasn't worked as a professional before. If you had two people that could code exactly the same, but one worked at an agency and the other just graduated from a boot camp, you are hiring the person that worked at an agency with clients all day long. You wouldn't even think about it. If they're equal in skill set and experience, equal in culture, you're going to hire the person that looks like they have a work history over someone that does not. Okay. So you need to pass the sniff test so you can get to the nerds. Once you get to the nerds, then your ability to code, your projects that you've already built, they will be enough to get you over the line. But until you can get to the nerds, you need to pass the sniff test. Dude, even internships want people who can code and know everything. Exactly. Internships want people that have worked before. What? It's true. All right. Because once you get to the nerds, once you've gotten past that sniff test, you've made it to the engineers, then it's, can you code? And do I want to work with you for the next 2 years? And the beautiful thing is, if you've been here, you've built your 100 hours project, or you have a portfolio that we just talked about, you have work that you can show folks that answers, yes, actually, I can code. And then we're going to talk about how in an interview to make it seem like you'd be the person they want to work with over the next 2 years. But once you get past that sniff test, your portfolio that you built can stand on its own. And the beautiful thing is, you could say, Leon, I have a crappy portfolio. Well, go use the template that Sean used. You will no longer have a crappy looking portfolio. And then come back to YouTube, leonnoel.com/YouTube, over the next day or two. And I will have 5 projects on there using Microsoft's APIs that use machine learning that will help you stand out, and you will have fantastic portfolio pieces that you can use. So there's no excuse to not having a beautiful portfolio, a crafted story, and projects that you have built that you can talk others through. Cool. So let's go ahead and take a break here. We're at the top of the hour. If you're new around these parts, we always like to take a break at the top of the hour. I'm going to go ahead and put a timer on here, 5-minute timer. Ooh, smart timer. We're gonna do a 5-minute timer, and then we will be back. Once we come back, we will keep breaking down the key things you need to get a job. We're gonna review, and like I said, we're going all the way from resume, which we'll see in a second, to big O notation, data structures, algorithms. So let's go ahead and take a break. Frosty Paws, hey, thank you for the Prime. Thank you for spending all those Bezos bucks on us. I appreciate that. And Zabby, thank you for the gifted sub as well. All right, folks, let's take a 5-minute break. Please be healthy. If you're able, get up, move around, let your eyes focus on something that's not your screen. I will be back here in 5 minutes. Hold on, they said, my daughter is cooking tofu, but didn't you have a secret to making amazing tofu? Make sure that you take all the moisture off of it. Press, if you don't have a tofu press, push it between like 2 plates with paper towels so all the moisture comes out, and then cook it like you would. Get the moisture out of your tofu, especially if it's like firm or extra firm tofu. Make sure you get the water out first, and then you can fry it up or however else you want to cook it. I really like my air fryer for tofu these days, but if you don't have an air fryer, it's beautiful. Just like a thin layer of oil in a pan, and all the moisture out. Good crispy tofu. All right, going back on my break. Leon, why are you leaving me on red on my LinkedIn connection? Can I show you? Hold on. Let's see. You got. You got. Exactly. How can I do this without showing people? Oh, here we go. Nice. That's why. Did you see it real quick? Hold on. Look in the top right hand side. Move this down a little bit. That's why. Yeah, I have over 100 pending. So I just haven't gone through them, but I will look for yours specifically. I think it's definitely over 100. I just think it says see all 100. I don't know if that's a thing, but it's definitely over 100. I will personally add yours. Some experienced engineers like my coworker are working 2 positions morning and evening. Is that too much at the early entry stage? Yes, please only do 1 to start. I do have a good friend that does 2. It's not actually that hard for them, and both the companies know, so it's not like any ethical concern. I've done it for a very long time. For my entire engineering career, I've worked during the day and taught at night. So there are other things that aren't even directly coding that are also could be doing in the evenings as well. If I see them when they come in, I add you. I saw Dabs come in. I think Dab, you're like the first person to that I knew that reached out. All right, folks, 10 seconds left. You even check your LinkedIn notifications? No, it's just too many. Just too many. All right, folks, come on back. Let's come back and go through this together. Lots of more fun stuff to go over and to review. All right, Leon, what's your worst interview? I vomited all over their grandma's couch this afternoon. No. Worst interview. I think I've told a worst interview before on stream. I've had interviews where I couldn't like solve the problems. Those are bad. I'm normally a pretty happy person in interviews. Like I don't get stressed out by them anymore. I've walked out of interviews. I've been like, oh, this is not gonna be a great fit. Like, good luck to you and the rest of the team. Deuces, and like left interviews before. I guess those would be bad on their end, but I had one interview where, oh, this is for a contract job. It was for a contract job. So like I have this weird thing like where I help a lot of car companies. I don't know why. It's just like a niche I have fallen into for my contracting. And it was this like big car manufacturer that they contracted me to join a team to help build out a product that was going to compete against like another really big app that you've heard of. So really huge car company like wanted to compete against an app that you heard against, and they were building kind of like their founding team to like figure that out. And they had saw the engineering work that I've done for other car companies, and through my network and friends of a friend, they got me on the team. They were super excited, signed everything, and I was gonna be the engineer, and they had a project manager, and the project manager was just like not a good person, just like was like very dismissive and like just not somebody I want to work with. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this because I don't want to work with this person. And so I guess like in the end of that interview phase, I sent like an email just like, look, if they're on the team, I don't want to be on the team, and like it's just I'm not going to be working on this project. And that didn't go well. That was like a shit show for a little while. People were really upset, and like I had to figure all that out and like salvage reputation and like friends of friends that did it. But yeah, I was like, I don't put up with that stuff. And so I was like, yeah, no, not going to be a good fit. You know, that was one that didn't go too well, but yeah. Alrighty, folks, let's get back into it. We talked about how when you're a boot camper, you have this smell. So you need to pass the sniff test. Once you pass the sniff test, you get to the nerds, and it comes down to, can you code? And do I want to work with you for the next 2 years? Alrighty. Next thing on our docket, if you're looking through the checklist that I asked you to go through, is your portfolio, your Twitter, and your LinkedIn. This is from our very own Telescope Thieves. I just had a coffee chat which was told, I just had a coffee chat and was told they see so many applicants with empty GitHubs, no portfolio sites, and no projects under their belt. We're on the right track, y'all. And it's definitely giving us the cheat codes. Right? I love this quote because it is so true. For all y'all that are just clicking apply and you have an empty GitHub, no portfolio site, and no projects underneath your belt, even in the really rare off chance they look at your application and they can't find anything about you, next. Right? So the portfolio, the GitHub, the LinkedIn, the Twitter is so that when they Google your name, which most people hiring are going to do, something pops up, right? It's not even about having the LinkedIn. It's that LinkedIn's going to really, it's going to rank high for your name. Your Twitter, if it's first name, last name, is going to rank high for your name. So if you're just clicking apply and not doing the process we're going to talk about in a few minutes, you're wasting, even on the off chance that they decide to bring you in or they want to see more about you, if they can't find you. So Twitter, this is Naya. Naya gave permission to share their Twitter. They've also done a T-spill with us. Naya has an amazing Twitter. They have something that talks very highly about themselves, right? They have links to their agency on here. They share things that are relevant to them and the industry. If any hiring partner was to come and look at their Twitter, this is someone that is connected, that is engaged in the space, and is an engineer. And this will rank high for their name, right? And so one of the best things you can do early on if you're trying to get a job is to, well, use Twitter. And if you're not going to use Twitter, at least have a Twitter presence so that when it comes time to interact with folks, they see a Twitter that's a little bit realistic. Twitter is going to be an amazing tool for you to get a job. Sounds weird, especially if you're just clicking apply, but networking and talking to individuals is the best way to get to an interview. And Twitter is a really important tool for that. Hey, love it. Glad you're here. Yes. You are the poster child for, I don't want to say child, but you're the poster person for beautiful Twitter. Yobi said, Twitter has gotten 3 of my friends' jobs. I believe it. It's one of the best tools you can use to help either get a job, or when people try to make you pass that sniff test, be the yes or no, the decision there. Zabby, hey, thank you for another gifted sub. I appreciate that. Twitter's been gold for me for networking. Yep. Cool. So you got your Twitter, your LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn, yet again, does not need to be anything super fancy, right? Balu said, how do you do that though? How do you actually network? We're going to talk about that tonight. Don't worry. We're going to talk through how you do that tonight. LinkedIn, once again, doesn't mean anything fancy. You just need to have a presence. You need to have your past experience. So here's Andy. They said we could share this. They are associate software engineer at DraftKings. You can see that they were a software engineer at Resilient Coders. They were a technical support engineer at another company, and that's it. Sorry, they have their associate's degree in their high school on here. What they do have are endorsements and a plausible path to where they are at now. So with your LinkedIn, it doesn't need to be anything wild, but it does need to highlight what you did and show that you have experience as an engineer. Put that you were a software engineer at 100 devs on your LinkedIn. I will share other 100 devs folks' LinkedIn, or you can join the 100 devs LinkedIn group, right? The 100 devs LinkedIn group on LinkedIn, and see all the other folks and how they talked about and how they manufactured their LinkedIns to look good and incorporate their 100 devs experience. So join our 100 devs group. I believe it's !LinkedIn here in chat, and go ahead and join our LinkedIn group. I think there's like 300 plus people in there already, always sharing good tips and tricks and things that they're working on. But you can also look at their profiles and see how they talked about themselves so that you can make your LinkedIn align as well. All right, portfolio. We already saw Sean's portfolio, and then my little bit of code for you here. If you're a designer, go ahead and design your portfolio. Otherwise, just use a template. especially if you haven't taken action to build a portfolio yet. You're not going to magically one day and sit down and design a beautiful portfolio. Just use a template for now. Don't kid yourself. Maybe down the line, you'll go ahead and design something that looks great, but use a template for now. Plenty of free templates out there. Sean's came from HTML5 up, which was completely free. If you get your first paid client, then maybe you can look at some more advanced templates or ones that cost a little bit of monies, but always for free is what we do here. I don't want you to spend a dime to learn how to code. Hosting is also free. We saw that Sean's their portfolio was hosted on Netlify, absolutely free, right? So they didn't have a domain name, I think, for a long time. It was just the Netlify URL. They still have it up on the Netlify URL. I think they also have a domain as well, but the Netlify URL is just as good for most folks. And it's fully responsive. Exactly. You don't have to worry about that. If you do want to buy a domain, I recommend Namecheap and I Want My Name. We raffled off domain names last sponsored class. Shout out Hashnode. Thank you for sponsoring our last class. And so if you won that raffle, you should have received a message from me here on Twitch, and you should have had a Visa gift card sent your way for your domain name. But if you don't want to pay for a domain name, this is like the only thing I think folks will ever have to buy throughout this course. You can just use the Netlify app, which is completely free. So, resume. Here's where I see the most people mess up, especially folks that are clicking apply. They did not use the resume template that I gave y'all. This resume template is not something that I just like. It's not a template that I think I enjoy. It's a template that I have seen time and time again help folks get past the sniff test and get that first interview. Okay. So yes, there are plenty of other resumes out there, plenty of other resume templates out there. But if you use this one and you tweak it ever so slightly, you just don't have to worry, right? You just don't have to worry. Hey, Winter, glad you're here. All right, so let's take a look at this one. The reason why I like it, first off, even though it says 2, it's 1 page. Your resume should be 1 page. If you have more than 1 page, you're not passing the sniff test. Remember, chat, how long does a recruiter spend looking at our resume? How long does a recruiter spend looking at our resume, chat? Six seconds. They spend 6 seconds looking at your resume. If you have too beefy of a summary, well, you just burnt all 6 of your seconds, right? No more than like 3 sentences, right? Once you get past 3 sentences, it's too long. You're burning 2 to 3 seconds of your sniff test on the summary. Keep it shorter. You should have work experience. You should be a software engineer somewhere on your resume, right? You should have, the first thing they see should be software engineer. So when they look at your resume, they are, all right, software engineer. Looks like they had some real project they work on. Done. Let me do that again. All right, Bob, creative detailed software engineer with deep interest in AI. All right, software engineer. They were a software engineer at 100 devs. They're a web developer at Bob's Consulting. Looks like they worked on some done. Right? You got to make sure that in those 6 seconds, they're seeing the thing that you care most about, which is that you are a software engineer and that you've worked as a software engineer. Anyone that's listening to this right now, if you are watching us on YouTube or live here on Twitch, you can go ahead and put yourself as a software engineer at 100 devs. Congratulations on joining the 100 devs agency. You can put that down there. You can go ahead and add it to your LinkedIn. And if you come to stand up, I will be your reference. When they call and they say, hey, we need to talk to your manager at 100 devs, let me show you who that manager is. This guy. I am your manager at 100 devs. I will hop on a call. I will sing your praises. I will gas you to the high heavens. They will love you. If they didn't already love you, by the time they get off the call with me, they will think you are the best thing since sliced bread. They will be over the moon to hire you. You get that if you come to stand up. You get that if you've done all the things that I asked here tonight. I will go to bat for you to help you get that job. Should we include educational and job experience not related to software engineering on resumes as well? Yes, but it has to be further down. It has to not be within the first 6 seconds that they see it. And there has to be a plausible story about how you went from where you were to being an engineer. I can attest this resume template works 100%. Thank you. Let's go. Go. You are best served literally taking this template, changing your name, and stopping. Like, that's probably better than anything else, right? Just change your name and your email and your links here, and you can just stop if you wanted to, right? But if you have a different place you went to school, or you have a one other job you want to put on here that fits, go ahead and plug that in. Otherwise, everything here is good enough. You're gonna have to put maybe the projects that you talked about. Notice my projects sound like they could be real companies. My projects sound like they could be real companies. Make sure that when somebody reads this, they're not going, oh, this was like a game they built. Oops, sorry. This is not like a game they built, right? It's not like a game they built during a boot camp. This looks like a real application that they could have built, right? So when you read Hip Coffee Co. full stack web application, cashier can take coffee orders from customers with their names. Baristas can log into the app and see orders that have been made, mark them as complete. Orders that are completed will note which barista completed the order. This sounds like this might have been a real project that you worked on for a coffee company at 100 devs. Right? So please use this template. Templates in the slides, you can do exclamation point slides to get all the slides. All the links are in the slides. If you're watching on YouTube, the links will be in the YouTube as well. And you can also go to it right here. That is the resume link there in chat. Cool. Alrighty, so now you got your resume sorted. One thing you should do before you move on from your resume, put it through the CV compiler. Do not pay for CV compiler. Use the free version. It'll give you a good rough idea of like how successful your resume looks to the robots that read your resume. Oh, that's the other beautiful thing we didn't talk about, folks. If you're just clicking apply, a recruiter is not looking at that application. It is a robot. So CV compiler will tell you whether or not your resume is passing that robot check. Now, cover letters, right? Cover letter. I almost paid for this. Good. I'm glad you didn't pay for this. Cover letter is something that not everyone has to run into. It's not every company asks for it. Some of the bigger places where you'll eventually apply will ask for cover letters or even cover emails. Here is a decent example of a cover letter. It just kind of has the name, your interest, what you did, and kind of why you're looking forward to hearing from them. So go ahead and take a look at this cover letter if you want an example, but a lot of applications don't even ask for it anymore. Zabby, hey, thank you for another gifted sub. I appreciate that. The most frustrating thing for me is I spend days on cover letters. I don't hear back most of the time. Yeah, they're not going to read them. I would say like 90% of the time they don't like actually read them. So you should have a cover letter that covers all your bases, and maybe you're tweaking at most one sentence. It's a numbers game. Yeah. So you're really tweaking one sentence here. Is it also bad if I avoid cover letters? A lot of companies ask for them still, so you're going to need it, but you should have a base cover letter and just use it. I use it to try and stand out. Not really going to happen. They're just not going to read it. They're not going to, nobody's read a cover letter and go, oh, I really have to hire this person now. Right? Think about it. There's never been like an engineer, right? There's never, I don't think this has ever happened. Like, that at least when I was hiring, I hired a bunch of engineers. I've worked with other individuals that have hired hundreds of engineers. I've never heard of somebody being hired because of the cover letter. Now, it might be something that like helps you get an interview, but even that I think is pretty rare, right? If they're getting a lot of applications. If you're getting like 1 or 2 applications, then maybe the cover letter will help you stand out. But if we're talking about like a pure numbers game, if you have a decent base cover letter, you're going to get the same perks out of like a really good tailored cover letter, because a really good cover letter is still really a good cover letter. And so using a template, tweaking 1 or 2 things here is going to be something that I think it's not the area where I would spend most of the time. You are way better off spending that time that you'd be investing in cover letters into building out your hit list and talking to real people. Yeah. Start attaching $20 to cover letters. Domino's gift card. Yeah, I think more like a checklist than anything else. Yeah. All right. Here's the next thing that stops you from getting past that initial sniff test. It's your GitHub. Your GitHub. Please, if you're watching this now or in the future, please make sure your GitHub looks good. 2 new things about GitHub. 1, you can have a README file for your actual GitHub like page. GitHub.com/LeonNoel. I have a very simple one. It's just a README file that says, hi there, I'm Leon. And it has like links to my stuff. And you can like pin the things that you care about, right? And then you have what is now atrocious green squares. But for a while, I had 100 days plus where I didn't miss a green square. But you can now have a README file for your page. So please, for the love of all that is holy, have a README file for your page, and then make sure all of the big projects that you have on GitHub, they use this README template here. Shout out Alec Ortega, who did this README template for my students at RC. But this template has everything that you need to make your repos look good. The name, a sentence, a link to where it's live on either Netlify or Heroku free, how it's made, optimizations you will make in the future, lessons learned, and links to your other projects. Memphis, hey, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. So yeah, you have all that stuff. How do I get a 100 dev badge on my GitHub? You got to join the 100 devs project team, which is a super exclusive group. We'll talk more about that on Thursday. All right. How do you recover any green squares if you miss a day? It kills me if I forget a day and messes up my green aesthetic. You can just change your time on your computer and push again. Like that's like a quick way. Like you just change you go to your clock. Like on a Mac, you just click the clock. You set it the day back a day, and then just commit and push again, and it fills in that green square for you. Or Dab has a whole, I think he did a stream, I don't know if it's up anywhere else, where they walk through how to fill in green squares. Yeah. Oh, there you go. I'll put something in there as well. Git commit date, days ago, flag, and message. There you go. After a few, GitHub doesn't like it. They can come find me then. Alrighty. If you've passed the sniff test and the recruiter gets to your GitHub, or somebody in the hiring committee gets to your GitHub, and they see that you've pushed every single day, well, recruiters love green squares. This is one of the biggest things you can do to show that you write code. Remember, if you can make it to the nerds, they care about two things. Can you code? And do I want to work with you for the next 2 years? Well, if you have a wall of green squares, they know that you can code. You have literally coded every day. So they're going to be a little bit more lenient and are more likely to give you an interview. So if you're doing Mega Summer Daily with us, right, and you're writing a code challenge every day, push that challenge to GitHub, right? That way you get your wall of green squares. As you're doing your interview prep, simply push that to a repo every day and you got your green square. All right. And the last big thing that I always tell folks to have before they start the hunt, like the thing that's going to help you get interviews, pass the sniff test, is a huge project. We call it the 100 hours project around here. It is a beautiful MVP of an idea that you're passionate about, or as Divker says, something that you hate, right? And so you want to build something that you want to exist in the world, right? Something that you're excited to wake up and build every day, something you're going to sink 100 hours into, because like I said earlier, the bulk of folks that have gotten great high paying jobs that we've seen so far did not have technical interviews. What they did have a lot of time though was, here is the project I've built, let me walk you through it. And they walk through all the code that they've written. Well, the beautiful thing is, if you're on YouTube or you go to YouTube, exclamation point YouTube here in chat, we have beautiful projects, binary upload boom, that you can use. You can modify that for your 100 hours project. All the bits and pieces you need to build a great project you have. You can go back, review those classes, and have all the skills you need. But where real learning happens, it's not here on Twitch, it's not in the classroom. Where real learning happens is when you sit down in front of your text editor and you sink 100 hours into a project. That's something I can't teach you. You're going to have to debug and fix and break things and ask for a metric crap ton of help on Discord. But if I've seen anything from this community, we have folks that are willing to step up and help you as you get stuck. So throw yourselves into this project. Not only will it help you find a job, not only will it help you get past the sniff test, but it's going to be where most of your learning comes from. We need a 100-hour project to archive. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. We'll put that up on the website, which is going live soon, very soon, maybe Thursday. Alrighty, so if you've done all the things we just talked about, the things that are on this checklist, right? You've gone through the checklist, you've built out a simple portfolio, and you've started your 100 hours project. Well, guess what? You have enough to get a job. That's it. We could literally stop right now, and you will more likely get a job than that person that clicked 400 applications. Do our pushes have to be public? I think mine are to a private repo and it was counting it. So yeah, I don't think so. Literally, if you stopped, right? You stopped, you did everything on this checklist and you started sinking hours into a 100 hours project, you would fare better than this person that clicked on 400 applications. Right? 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 Perhaps you should give 100 different ideas. Nah. Has to be something you care about, something that you're excited to build, something you're excited to talk about. But you won't build my ideas. My ideas are Leon ideas. They're good for me, but unless you're really into like collecting Pokemon boxes, you're not going to like my ideas. All right. So you've done everything so far. You're ready for the hunt. Now, to get interviews, right? You set up yourself to get past that initial sniff test, right? To get past that initial sniff test. You've set yourself up beautifully to do that. Now it's time for the dirty secret about how you get jobs. And the dirty secret to how you get interviews and ultimately get the job is your hit list. This is the most important thing you will ever do for your career. Headphones fell out 1 second. I say it again. The hit list is the most important thing you will ever do for your career. So what the heck is the hit list? Well, use the sheet. You can do exclamation point sheet here in chat. And it is a sheet that has on one side your networking. Like if you're just doing generic networking, I always ask my students to be networking every week. You should be putting yourself out there, going to events, meeting other engineers in your city. That's generic networking. Generic networking is great, but it's not as good as focused networking when it comes to your hit list. We have 3 videos here on the Twitch channel, and they'll eventually be on YouTube, where we build out our hit list live. I currently hold the world record for a 30-person hit list that has not been beaten yet. It's been a solid month. I posted that score. Nobody's beaten me yet, right? So I hold the record. You can literally, in 3.5 hours, add 30 companies to your hit list where you can actually reach out to a living, breathing human being and get your application in front of them eventually. So the goal is to find opportunities that match your skill set and experience, and in your chosen location where you wish to work, either a specific city or remote. Remember, local is always better, but not everyone has that privilege, right? And once you have found that opportunity, instead of clicking apply and making Leon cry, once you find that opportunity, you find real people that work at that company and you say, hello, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I would love 5 minutes of your time. This is the secret, folks. This is the secret, folks. Nothing else matters as much as this part of the process. The people that pick 60 companies and talk to real humans at those companies will dance circles around the individuals that click apply on 1,000 companies. They will dance circles around the individuals that are coming out of 4-year degree programs that can do data structures and algorithms upside down with their blindfolds on. They will do better than any other candidate, because when you talk to a real human being, you satisfy one of the 2 things that they care. Can you code? And do I want to work with you for the next 2 years? That second part, do I want to work with you for the next 2 years, is really hard because most people will never have a freaking clue who you are. You are a name of some random person that clicked a button on a random website that will never come across their desk. So when you find 60 opportunities that you put on your hit list, you find real, living, breathing human beings, and you reach out to them. You try to make a friendship, you try to make a connection, and then you get the referral. Referrals get jobs. This is the process, folks. If you have set up everything we just talked about in terms of the sniff test, and you do this process, we're going to walk through it. Don't worry, I'm going to show you some examples. You do this process, you will get a job. I don't care how good your data structures and algorithms are. I don't care how many leak codes you've done. I don't care what your prior work experience is, right? You will get a job. Anonymous, hey, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. I appreciate that. Sorry, I got a little spicy here for a second. A little spicy. Didn't see it. OCC, thank you. Thank you for the gifted subs. Everybody, I really appreciate the gifted subs tonight. We have a lot of newer folks that joined the community recently. If you don't know, all the subs and the bits and all that stuff, that goes straight to the nonprofit I work at during the day, Resilient Coders, and specifically goes into our emergency fund that helps with mental health support. I want to work at Google. I think you're trying to like make me angry and flip my keyboard. Izzy, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. All right. So we have 3 videos of me working through the hit list. But who would I be if I told you to use the sheet? I told you that you need 60 networked recommended applications. Not clicking apply, right? 60 companies that fit your skill set and experience that you networked your way in. Who would I be if I didn't tell you how to do that? How to get those 60 companies that you recommended into? Well, what you want to do is you want to find the company and you want to find the hiring manager. You want to follow them on Twitter. You want to find their email, and you want to find a way of asking for a coffee chat or a few minutes of their time. Once you do reach them, you send a thank you letter and you work your way up to getting the recommendation. So you find the hiring manager, you do this. You find an engineer on the team and you do this. You find the recruiter and you do this. And you find their mama and you do this, right? You find living, breathing human beings that work at this company and you reach out to them. Now, this is a numbers game, right? This is a numbers game. Will some people be pissed off that you've reached out to them on Twitter? Yes, fuck them. Will some people be bothered that you sent them an unsolicited email? Oh, yes, fuck them. It's a numbers game. Keep it moving. They're horrible people. They had a bad weekend. They spent too much money at the casino and they're taking it out on you. Fuck them. Move on. This is a numbers game. You can't be caught up in your head wondering about all these what ifs. You can't lose a job you don't have. Numbers game. Keep it moving. All right. So let's do it live. Let's do it live. Chat, give me a city. Give me a city. Give me a city, please, chat. LA, New York City, DC, Austin, Phoenix, Raleigh, New York, Dallas, Seattle, Birmingham. Birmingham sounds hard. Let's go at Birmingham. That seems like a difficult one. So let's see if we see anything. Because the bigger cities are definitely easier. So let's try. Let me do it in a separate window real quick. I just want to make sure nothing weird pops up. I'm gonna go to AngelList, angel.co. All right, bring this over here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna change the city, and I'm gonna put in Birmingham, Alabama. And I'm going to start looking for roles. I'm looking for software engineering full-time roles in Birmingham, Alabama. There's 10 opportunities. So these might not be a good fit. We might have to go remote, but senior, software engineer. Oh, Birmingham, England. Data support. Senior backend software engineer. All right, here we go. Demand orchestration software to scale pipeline and revenue. Everybody wants to make more revenue. It's not creepy, it's networking. Exactly. Thank you, Carvin. Thank you for the 2 months. I appreciate you. And Izzy, thank you for the hydration. Take that sip. All right. We found the company. It's a medium-sized company. Always good to see. Let's click on it. Let's go ahead and see if we can find any people that work here. We don't have a contact listed, but there are a lot of team members. Holy moly. Look at all these team members. Got a UI. Oh, director of recruiting, Alex King. Let's look at Alex King. They have a Twitter. Let's look at their Twitter. Doesn't look like they have DMs open, but we did find their Twitter pretty quickly. And let's look at their LinkedIn. And their messages are open on LinkedIn. Boom. First try at a smaller city. Literally, first try, right? We went to AngelList. We typed in our location. We found a job that matches our skill set, an entry-level software engineering role, decent salary in our city. We found all the people that worked on that team. We looked through all those people. We found the person in charge of recruiting. This person literally is paid to talk to you. Thank you, Will. They're literally paid to talk to you. So when you send them a message on LinkedIn, they're going to be very happy to receive that message. Now, let's see if we can find anything about them that might help us here. They've placed over 1,000 professionals. That's wild. Avid golfer. So if you know anything about golf, this might be a good thing, right? Like shot under 100 the other day would be like the message I would start off with if I played golf or something like that, right? So if you know anything about golf, you can respond. You can even say, look, they're terrible. And you say like, if I had ever touched a golf club in my life, I've actually been kicked off of a golf course, but it's a whole other story. If you ever played a drop of golf in your life, I would send Alex a message that says, fellow terrible golfer. Hey, Alex, super impressive that you've placed over 1,000 professionals. I'm really interested in opportunities at Integrate, and I saw that you were listed when I was looking on AngelList. I would love 5 minutes of your time just to hear about your experience as a recruiter and maybe pick up some golf skills. That's it. Boom. I send that to them. And that would be my message. And then I'm going to find maybe 2 other people at the company and do the exact same thing. This is what I mean by building out your hit list. People don't want to do this work. They rather be lazy and click apply over and over and over and over again, thinking that it's going to help them. It's not. This is the real work. You find the companies that have open opportunities. You find people that work at those companies. You find a way in to talk to them. You send a relatable message that gets their attention. You reach out to them, you say hello, and you get the recommendation. That's the goal. And if you want to better understand this part of the process, we have 3 videos that are on Twitch right now where I literally do this live for hours and hours and hours with the exact messages I send, with the exact like emails I send, the exact way I found all the people on the hit list. You can do this. It takes some time. It takes some effort. But if you did everything we talked about so far to pass the sniff test and you do this, I guarantee you get interviews. Guaranteed. I am the world record holder, indeed. YoVL with the Pokemon redemption. We haven't done one of those in a minute. Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. What time? Where are we at time wise? Let's see. All right, we're almost at the top of the hour here. What we'll do is when we take a break, I'll set up the Pokemon card redemption, and when we come back from our break, we'll do the raffle. Hollow card, let's go. All right, when we come back from, and remind me when we come back from our break to do the raffle. All right, we did it live. All right, so if you ever just click apply and I find you, it won't be pretty. That's all I'm going to say. Don't want to incriminate myself. Don't ever just click apply. If you've been here, you've watched this, if you have any respect for me at all in your life, don't ever just click apply. Now, there are some times, Bobby Lou with the Pokemon card, let's go. I would love to ship out more Pokemon cards. If you click apply, I cry every single time. Now, I'm guilty. I'm sorry. Now, there are, and I know a resounding happens when I say this. If you've tried your hardest, you found a great opportunity, you've tried your hardest, you've tried to reach out to every single person that's ever worked at this company, right? And you just can't find a way in. There's just not a way to talk to someone. Then you may click apply. But you don't just click apply to start. You click apply, right? You click apply once, right? Once you've exhausted all the other things we just talked about, right? That's the only time you're allowed to do it. Now, this is a number game. How many companies are we networking our way into where we're getting a recommendation? How many, please, chat? How many companies are we networking our way into that we're getting the recommendations for? How many, please? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the participation. 60 applications. A lot of them in the beginning will just be practice. Most folks are not good at interviewing. They get nervous, they get jittery. It takes a while to feel comfortable in interviews. So you're going to have at least 10 interviews where it goes horrendously bad, where you vomit on yourself, you slap their mama, you just do the most wild things, right? Everyone has 10 horrible interviews in themselves, and you got to get them out the way. Once you get those horrible interviews out the way, they start to get a little bit easier, right? They start to get a little bit easier. And once you've gotten through some of the companies you don't care about, some of the opportunities you don't care about, you should start thinking about the premium companies that you do want to apply to. XDA, thank you for the 6 months. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Right? You should start thinking about the companies that you really do want to apply to. And you're going to do 10 applications where you go overboard. You're tweeting about the company. You're reading everything about their blog. You're working on an individual project for that company, right? So that when you do get past the sniff test, you do get into the interview and they're like, hey, we're really looking for someone that can build rubber duck organizational software. You're going to go, well, wait a minute. Have you seen my portfolio? I do have an app where I organize rubber ducks. So I think I'd be an excellent fit, right? So the idea here is that you're going to have 60. 10 are going to go horribly wrong. 30 will be so-so, right? And you're going to have like around 10 or so that you put a lot of effort into. And that's the name of the game. Folks that do this process, they get jobs. All right. Let's go ahead and we're going to take our break now. Top of the hour. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We always like to stay healthy. We like to get our rest in. If you're able to, get up, stretch, move around, please. Let your eyes relax a little bit. And when we come back from those 5 minutes, we're going to talk about, well, once you start getting interviews, how do you get through those interviews? The data structures, the algorithms, the things that you need to know in those interviews to be successful. That's what we're going to talk about when we come back. So let me get this timer on the board here. 5 minutes. I'm going to take a break myself. So I will see you all in 5. We got that raffle when we come back. So I'll see the raffles come up too. Stand Up takes place on our Discord. Mega Summer Daily is the channel. See y'all in 4 minutes. Where's Bob? I forgot to put Bob up. Alrighty, folks, come on back. Come on back. We got 2 Pokemon card raffles to do here from the channel points. So the way this works is we have a list of cards and we do a random pick from that list, and that's the card that gets sent out. So let me go ahead and pull up that list here. Pokemon. I believe you can do exclamation point Pokemon in the chat and it'll pull up the list that we currently have. Here is that list. And right now we have 65 cards on the list. There are multiples of some of them. These values have not been updated in a very long time, so I have no idea if they're more or less. But yeah. I've done most of the raffles. If you know that you have not gotten your raffle done, definitely send me a message on Discord and we'll make sure we do it on Thursday. So BB Tone, make sure that you send me a message. I'll look up all the ones I've redeemed and we'll take it from there. But we got 2 for right now that we got to get through. First up is, what do we have here first? First up is Yobi, and then we have Bobby Lynn. Let's go ahead and do Yobi first. And I guess I can leave this list up. Can I do the check here? Let's do the check. So let's go ahead and just open up an incognito window here. Console. And we're gonna do a match.random. Random. And we're gonna do it out of 65. And we're gonna do this inside of a math.seal as we go from 1 to, make this bigger. There we go. We go from 1 to 65. If we look at the card list, we go from, oh, I guess we can do, yeah. If we get the number 1, we redo it. Cool. 1 to 65. And this is for Yobi. So Yobi, let's go ahead. I'm gonna run this. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Ooh, we got a 1. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, we redo the 1. That's wild. You know what? Screw that. We're gonna say that the 1 is the Garchomp C. So you're getting the best card on the list. I'm sending that your way. Garchomp C coming your way. Let me go ahead and put that on my notes here. If you get a 1, you get the best card. 1, 2, or 3 gives you the best card here around these parts, folks. Let's go make a note here. Come on, cards. All right. Yobi got the Garchomp. We gotta look that up, see how much that costs these days, because that card's definitely probably gone up in value. It used to be a card that was really popular, in like a meta. Like one of the big card game metas was a deck that revolved around those 4 cards. So congrats, it's coming your way. I'll reach out for your address to get that info. So I'll reach out here on Twitch to get your address and I'll drop it in the mail for you next week. All right, let's do one more here. Since there was 2 of those, we are now down to 1 of those, but the numbers don't have to change. And so this next raffle is for Bobby Lynn. Let's go ahead and run this again. 3, 2, 1. What? We got another one. I think my code is wrong, folks. You know what? The code was wrong. I'm doing it inside of the math.random. It should be times the math.random, but nobody called me out on it. So we just gave away both of our number one cards. Let's go. We're now at 0. We're gonna go ahead and take this off here. Make sure I put it down before I take it off the list. And that was for Bobby Lynn as well. There we go. Awesome. All right, move that from the list. Congratulations on your beautiful Pokemon cards coming your way. Let's go. Those are two of the best on the list. I gotta get some good, more like high tier cards on here. I'm curious. Let's see. Let's see here. What do we got for the Garchomp fee pricing? I'm seeing like a near mint going for like 54 bucks right now. So that's a pretty good card. About 54. You know what? If anybody else would have redeemed while the code was broken, I would have kept redeeming them. But now that you see, it pays to know the code, folks. If you would have seen the code and would have known that it was broken, right? It pays to know JavaScript. If you would have redeemed it while the code was broken, you would have gotten the next highest card on the list. So you got to keep your wits about you. You got to be reading the JavaScript I throw up there because it can pay off. Alrighty, folks, let's get back into it. Sonny's excited. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad that's coming their way. All right, so you've done everything that I've said so far. You have made sure that your online presence passes that sniff test. Right? You have built out your hit list with real people that you've talked to, and the interviews are starting to come in. Well, how do you get through those interviews? Well, here's how I'm going to teach you how to play the game. It's always up to you if you want to play the game, but here is how the game is played. The bank. If you're getting interviews, having the bank prepped is hands down the best thing you can do. Like I said earlier, the bulk of folks that go into our interviews, they are successful because of their behavioral and technical question knowledge, not so much their coding challenge knowledge. So you can do exclamation point bank here in chat to get those list of questions. And it is a list of interview questions that I ask all of my students to commit to memory through spaced repetition. So all of my students, I ask them to answer all of these questions and to put them into an Anki deck, exclamation point Anki. If you have no idea what spaced repetition is or how to study correctly for computer science, you should do exclamation point study tips here in chat. That'll give you the link to Ali Abdal's videos on how to study effectively, including how to not forget all the things that you learned. So all these questions go into an Anki deck, including the questions to ask your interviewer. We have to put in those 2 questions we got during T-Spill on Friday, because those are amazing. I'm going to add them to this list. But all these questions are questions that you prepare so that when you go into your interviews, you're prepared. Do not go into your interviews like they are an accident. Most people go into their interviews like an accident. You can prepare all the questions they're going to ask you. If you work through the bank, you will have like a 90% success rate on all your behavioral questions. It's going to be astronomical. And the beautiful thing is, most people that make it to this stage do not prepare any behavioral questions. They have no idea what the heck they're doing. Not you. You have the bank. You will be prepared. Now, for the behavioral questions, I ask my students to have CAR, cause, action, result. So if you look at the bank, there are a list of 22 questions here, and you need a cause, action, result for each one of those questions. Give me something that happened, give me an action that you took, and give me the result. Some type of number in the chat, please. I like car over star because car is one less thing to remember. Number in chat that I can actually answer. 22 is do you have any other questions? One. Somebody else give me a number. Number. 17. All right, let's see. I want something I can do like a car for. Let's see. 10, I think, is one of the real questions. All right. Tell me about a situation when you made a mistake at work. What happened exactly and how did you deal with it? What steps did you take to improve the situation? Wonderful question. Thank you for asking. It brings me back to a time when I was at my last opportunity and I rushed code during a very important deliverable. And that code that I pushed to production actually broke the entire build for all 4,000 of our customers. We had a customer that needed a very special feature. I worked very hard and very fast to build that feature, pushed it to production, and it brought down the site, not only for them, but for all 4,000 of our users. From that day forward, I learned to, one, build way better test coverage for all my code, but to also implement a code review process at my company. I was in charge of the engineering team there, but did not have code review for myself. And so made sure that we had test coverage for all of our code and a well-implemented code review so that even if we were rushing to build a feature, none of that code would ever make it to production without being tested and reviewed. And from that point forward, we never had a bug that brought down production in our 5-year run again. Car, what happened? I pushed a bug to production that brought down everything. Action, implemented test coverage and code reviews that never happened again. And result, why am I the best thing since sliced bread? Well, in the past 5 years, I've never had another bug get produced to production that brought it down. I want CAR, cause, action, result, for every single question on this list where it makes sense. I did that off the dome. I would simplify that even further to just 3 sentences that I have memorized and practiced and perfected so that when I'm in an interview, I can pull that out and it looks natural. The way you come across natural in these interviews is to have these prepped. And I'll tell you what, when I talk to other software engineers, they hate this list. This is probably the thing I get the most negative feedback on ever, because they're like, Leon, aren't you cheating on this test? Aren't they just memorizing stuff and not having real experience? And I'm like, the fuck they are, because you're asking dumb questions. Your whole process is dumb. You're dumb. So guess what? I'm going to teach them to game the system so they can get the interview and get through it and get the job, because your process is broken. Why am I going to penalize my students? Because your job and your process of sorting through these folks is garbage. Don't penalize me for having a garbage system. So we study the questions on this list, right? You study the questions on this list, you ace your interviews, and you get the job. And if anybody ever you come across that says, well, you shouldn't study these things because it's not real. No, fuck you. Keep it moving. I'm going to get the job. All right, cool. Spicy Leon. Yes, indeed. Next, the technical questions, they also have a process. The technical questions, we look for something called EU, explanation, use, and example. So if we look at this bank, there are these technical questions across the different varied topics. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc., right? So if we just pick one off this list, I like CSS Sprite. That's a good one. I think I have a good example for that one here. So if you're in an interview, specifically a front-end interview, they might ask a question like, what are sprites? Or what's something that you could do to optimize your front-end code? Well, you're going to give EU, explanation, use, example. And so I would say, well, one of the things you could do to speed up your site is if you're making lots of network requests for your images, you could use a sprite. A sprite is a singular image that contains all the other images that you would want to use. So you're making one network request for that image and then kind of just manipulating and moving it around the page until the image you care about is in view. So that's what a sprite is. The use is that you can significantly reduce your number of network requests by using a sprite. And the classic example of this is Amazon. If you go to Amazon and you look at the swoop logo or anything like that, it's actually just one image that they move around. And we know that Amazon really cares about page load speed. So we see that they use sprites to help speed up their page. Boom. So that's a EU, an explanation like what a sprite was, how you use it, and an example of it in action. You want this for all of your technical questions. This is a metric crap ton of work. This is something that my students spend tens of, even maybe up to 100 hours on, making sure they know the answers to these questions, making sure that they're in their Anki, and making sure that they never forget them, right? Hey, Hobo, glad you're here, right? So please, this is something like if you said, all right, if you've built out your online presence so you passed the sniff test, you have built out your hit list and you're starting to talk to real human beings, the next best thing you can do with your time is the bank. Notice I didn't say data structures, algorithms. Notice I didn't say leak code. Notice I didn't say code wars. If we're talking about purely playing the numbers game, the best thing you can do after making sure your online presence passes the sniff test and making sure that you've built out your hit list is to dump all your time into this bank. If you do just that, you'll get a job. We've seen the bulk of individuals that we've talked about getting jobs that are high paid jobs in software engineering. They didn't even get to a technical interview. They passed the sniff test so well. They were talking to a real human being and they impressed them by walking through their 100 hours project and answering their questions like a real human being, right? If you can do that, you're in a good spot. I think working through this bank can take a really long time. Folks that did the bank, how long did it take you to kind of get through everything or to feel comfortable with it? I'm curious what your hours are. I've seen some people say as quick as 10. Some people said way more than that. Folks that did it, how long did it take? More than 100 hours? About a month? Over a month, yeah. Someone did post the answers. The answers are on GitHub. The answers, you can find the answers on Discord. I'm a fan of like doing the answers yourself just because you learn more. But if you wanted to like really grind, you can just grab the answers. Yeah. Month plus. Yeah. So it seems like 1 to 2 months to go through this whole list of questions, which I think sounds pretty fair. It's not an overnight thing. Clicking apply feels so good. Clicking apply is like, oh, I did something today. Look at me. Oh, I clicked apply. Like I didn't know. You didn't do shit. You didn't do anything. You clicked apply. Yes, it feels good, but you did crap to get yourself a job. Rogue A. Good luck. Have a good night. All right. So the last thing here is the technical coding challenge. You've made it through your behavioral questions using CAR. You made it through your technical questions using EU, right? The last thing is your technical coding challenge. If you've made it through the sniff test, you've made it through your behavioral and the first kind of like question rounds at an interview, the last round is typically some sort of take home or live coding challenge. In that live coding challenge, there's one really important thing that you need to do, and that is called prep. Parameters, returns, examples, and pseudocode. If you make it to a coding interview, you must do prep. All prep is a way of approaching a technical coding challenge in a way that communicates to the engineer across from you that you know what the heck you're talking about. Today's question in Mega Summer Daily, which is our daily channel for doing coding challenges, you should definitely join us in that channel. The channel that we do that in, we start working through problems and we work through each problem using prep. So the problem that we had today was a simple one to get started. So you can join us now. That problem was reverse a list. It was reverse the list. So I am going to walk through prep on reversing a list. So here it is. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I would use prep in a technical coding challenge. I cannot tell you how many folks get to the technical coding challenge and have no rhyme or reason about how to get through that challenge. I'm going to show you the process right now so that you can impress your interview and get through the challenge, even if you don't know how to solve the problem. So let me go ahead and open up a Replit here. I'm going to create a new one. All right. I recommend either using Replit or something you feel really comfortable with in writing your code. Right? And writing your code. Some people use VS Code, but you have to make sure that you can execute your code in VS Code if you want to, right? So Replit's easy just because it's up and running. You can share it with your interviewer or whatever, but you want a place where you feel comfortable writing code that you can execute. So here's the question. Complete the solution so that it reverses a string passed into it. This is a Code Wars. It's in the Mega Summer Daily channel on Discord. Yeah. So here's the question. Complete the solution so that it reverses the string passed into it. So we're going to work through prep. The first letter in prep is P for parameters. So this question is asking for what type of value is coming into this problem, right? I know that that's coming in, right? What's coming in is a string. It says it reverses the string passed in. So the first step in my prep is my parameters, right? And I'm going to ask a bunch of questions about this string. Well, thank you. So I take it that we're taking in a string. Is there any chance that it won't be a string? Will there ever be some other type of data structure that we're passing in that is not a string? Will it ever be empty? Will there ever be a value that is not passed in? What you're trying to do is you're trying to qualify the values that are coming into the function. You do this for two reasons. One, to make sure you really understand the problem, but two, so that they can't get you later on. We don't get got, we go get around here. They can't change up their mind if you've already talked through all of this stuff. Great. Now, maybe we were doing a different problem where there's a number and you might hear the normal racket of saying, all right, well, it's a number is coming in. Is it a whole number? Is it a float or a number with decimal places? Is it a positive or a negative number? Will it be a number that might get too big for JavaScript to hold in memory? Like, you want to qualify all the things about what's coming into the problem. That's the parameters of prep. Next is R, or return. Great. So I'm taking in a string. I'm going to reverse it. Would you like me to return a string? Like, I'm going to spit out a string. And the interviewer will say, yes, it is a string. Now, the beautiful thing is that we've gotten the interviewer saying yes, shaking their head, talking and engaging. Remember, interviewers care about two things. One, can you code? And two, do I want to work with you for the next 2 years? If you can get the interviewer saying yes and talking to you, answering your questions, you're starting to get them to like you, right? If you go into an interview and they do not talk the whole interview, I don't care if you're the best coder in the world, they're not going to vote for you to move on to the next round or vote for you to join the company. You need to get them talking, engaging, crack a joke or two, get comfortable engaging with that person so you can pass that second part of the test. It's not always about the code that you write. In fact, most of the time it's not, right? So by asking them questions about what's coming in and what's being spit out, you've got them talking and agreeing with you. Next is E, or example. Now, the example are your test cases, the things that you're going to do that make sure that this actually works. And so we're going to go ahead and build out our function. Function reverse word, or reverse string, sorry. We already said that it takes in a string, right? We already said it takes in a string, so we know that our parameter, str for string. And then we're going to come down here. We're just going to console log. Just make it easier on ourselves. Console log. And we're going to call the function reverse string. We already have the one test case that's above, which is world. And we know if we did this right, it should be DLROW, right? That's my first test case, right? My first test case. Second test case. I always do 2 or 3. The reason why I do 2 or 3 is because it gives me time to think about the problem. It gets me thinking about the problem. I'm thinking through the solution. The interviewer is helping me figure out actual solutions to the problem. And so I'm going to do another one, maybe race car, because we know that should stay the same. And I'm going to do another one, SpongeBob, because SpongeBob should be BOBEGNOPS. And if you're like, Leon, this is amazing. We do this every day together, Monday through Friday. We walk through prep on problems. You should join us on Discord. All right, so we built out our examples, right? But our examples are even better than just examples. They're test cases that when we actually figure out writing the code, right? When we actually figure out how to solve the problem, we just click run and we see if we're right or not. The other last really beautiful thing about doing all these test cases ahead of time is the interviewer has agreed that these are correct. They can't change their mind later on. They can't make up new shit on you, which happens so much in interviews. You've already agreed to the test cases that are going to work here. And now it's just solving the problem. And that brings us to the last thing. The last P, right? The last P, right, is our pseudocode. This is where you talk through the problem with your interviewer. You don't jump right into solving the problem. A lot of folks here can solve this problem cold, but it's not, right? It's not, right? It's not what you should do. You don't jump into coding. You talk through it with your interviewer. All right. I know that I'm taking in a string. The thing I feel really comfortable with is reversing an array. So what I think I'm going to do is split the array into a string. I'm sorry, the string into an array. Then I can use that reverse method to reverse it. And then since we know that we're returning a string, I can join it back together. Does that sound like an okay way to go about getting at least a simple solution on the board here? And they're going to say yes, right? That does sound like a good thing to do. And then we can go ahead and do our return string.split dot reverse. And then we can do our dot join, right? And then before we even have to ask them anything, we can hit run and see that our test cases work. We can see that it matched, and it matched. So we know that our code is working. If you walk through prep with your interviewer, you will get through more interviews because they will be already talking to you and wanting to help you succeed in the interview. Nothing's worse than having an interviewer just sit there and not talk to you the whole time, and you fail at the question and nothing happens and you get rejected, right? Hey Ghost, thank you for the gifted sub. What? 6 month tier 1? What? They said hi. That's awesome. Thank you for the 6 months. That's wild. Thank you. Cool. All right. Now, Star Fox said, do it without built-in methods. And the beautiful thing is, if you came to Mega Summer Daily Stand-Up today, we did this problem in stand-up, not only with the methods, but also without the built-in methods. So if you want to learn how to solve these problems, not only with the built-in methods, but using just plain old JavaScript, you can, and we do it every single day, right? We do it every single day together. So come on through. Whereas X is an amazing developer, has a brilliant YouTube channel. Hey, that's awesome. I'll definitely pop over. Alrighty, cool. So that's prep. Parameters, returns, examples, pseudocode, right? Every single time you solve a problem, right? Every single time you solve a coding challenge, use this process. I don't care if you're doing a code war, a leak code, you met some random stranger on the street and they're asking you to solve coding problems in a battle of wits to the death. Use prep. Nicole's, hey, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Stand Up is in the Discord channel. Yep. We have a Discord channel where we post the problems, and then a voice channel where we meet every day. Cool. So you've passed the sniff test. You've built out your hit list. You've studied your behavioral and technical questions. You've studied prep for getting through your technical coding challenges. There's really only a few things that you need on your plate to get through those final technical coding challenges. And that's one, knowing all your built-in methods. So knowing your string, your array and object methods, the splits, the reverse, the joins, the pops, the pushes, the maps, the reduce, the filters, right? If you just knew your methods, you would get through the bulk of technical interviews. Yes, it might not be the most optimal, but I guarantee you most of your challenges you will get through with just knowing the basic methods. If you want to add another layer on top of it, you figure out how to solve most problems brute force. Once again, this will get you through most of your interviews. I don't ask my students to apply to FANG or top tier startups where you need data structures and algorithms. It just doesn't make sense. There are so many amazing companies that want you to work for them, that need engineers, that if you just studied your methods and you could brute force your solutions, it would be all you need. You don't need to go pay $300 for that data structures and algorithms course just because some YouTuber told you needed to apply to Facebook, right? You don't need it. If you study your methods, you can brute force your way through solutions, and you use the prep method we just talked about, that's it. But if you want, right? If you want to take it to the next level, right? You want to take it to the next level. Before you do that, let's look at these little bits of wisdom from other 100 devs folks. This was somebody that is now a software fucking engineer. There was no technical assessment. I just told them about the projects I had worked on, like your 100 hours project, and made sure I was friendly and connected with them as people. I know there's lots of people here that are better coders than me, so it's absolutely possible that you can do this. Don't stop believing, stay consistent, and it will happen. I cannot tell you how often the better engineer does not get the job because they did not do the processes that we just talked about. I was going to cancel my interview, but a friend convinced me to do it last minute. This person now works part-time, but gets a full-time paid salary. Like I said, you could stop with just knowing your methods and brute forcing and get a phenomenal job. Daddy Yankee, who was here earlier, not sure if they're still here, built a button with HTML and CSS, had no other coding challenge, and got a starting salary of $83,000. Let me say it again. Daddy Yankee, who was in chat earlier today, built a button with HTML and CSS, no other coding challenge, and got an offer for $83,000. It is a numbers game. It is a numbers game. If you go into this process, will there be 10 companies that want you to invert a binary tree? Yes, but you say, sorry, this is probably not a good fit, and you move on, right? There are just going to be interviews that you don't get through because you didn't do that type of prep, but the bulk, you don't need that wild stuff to get through. If you don't believe me, come every Friday to our T-Spill session, and you will hear from other paid software engineers with amazing salaries that did not have to do these wild leak code-esque coding challenges to get phenomenal jobs. It's just not necessary. Just do it, please. Just do it. Do the online presence stuff we talked about. Do the hit list stuff we talked about. Practice your bank, practice your prep, learn your methods, learn how to brute force through problems. If you don't feel comfortable with that stuff, join us every Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, where we do a coding challenge together. Where are we at time-wise? Cool. Got enough time to get to this last thing. How was last tea? Ooh, last tea was a mega tea. We had 2 folks that got phenomenal jobs that came and spilled the tea. Some really great words of wisdom were shared that tea spill. You generally stand out from a pile of applicants just by being able to communicate effectively with interviews. Exactly. In different events, said so many people I've interviewed just come up with solutions in silence and get it wrong. You got to be talking through this stuff. What's the 100 devs project? The 100 hours project? The 100 hours project is a project that you sink 100 hours into. You know, where you do most of your learning. Cool. All right. Now, the last thing, the cherry that you put on on top of this preparation pie, is data structures and algorithms knowledge. Now, I could literally end the stream. I could stop, and you would have enough to get a job as a software engineer. This next bit is not required. It's just not. You do all the other stuff we just talked about, you're good. Practice the crap out of it, you'll get a job. This next bit is 2 things. One, it just opens a few more doors of possibility, a few more interviews that you might have missed that now become more realistic. And it also helps you stand out a little bit more in the easier interviews that you walk through. Because if you can also talk through the time complexity as part of your interviewing skill set, you'll stand out a bunch against a lot of other folks that have no idea what the hell that's talking about. And if you bring it into your daily practice, like we do during the daily stand-ups, you will get good at it and it'll help you stand out. But I wanted to preface that with, you could literally stop right now, turn off the video, turn off the stream, and have enough to get a job. This is a little bit extra that opens up just a few more doors in terms of companies that will actually kind of pass you to the next round of an interview, and also just help you stand a little bit more in the interviews where you don't know this stuff. Cool. So when people talk about data structures and algorithms, it seems pretty scary, but an algorithm is really just the steps that you take to solve a problem. That's it. There are some algorithms that are more efficient than others, right? But an algorithm is just the steps you take to solve a problem. Thinking through the appropriate algorithms, right, is how we can efficiently solve problems. That'd be funny, right? Thinking through appropriate algorithms, how we can efficiently solve problems. And when I talk about efficiency, I mean space and time. What the heck do I mean by space and time? Well, space is how much memory is your solution taking up, like how much memory is like this computer need to store stuff, right? And time is how many operations are executed per input, right? So when we start talking about data structures and algorithms, we're going to evaluate them in terms of time and space. And when we're talking about efficiency in terms of time or space, we can use something called big O notation, right? Now, big O notation can be pretty scary because a lot of folks just don't know why. Like, why is big O a thing? Like, why, when I'm talking about the solution that I work through with prep, I got a solution on the board, why do I then need to talk about that solution in terms of space and time? Well, big O notation, all it does, right? That fancy math, all it does is helps us have like a way of looking at multiple things, multiple algorithms, right? And understanding their complexity in terms of space and time. So it's just a number system or a way of describing the code that you just wrote in terms of space and time. And the reason why we do this at all, why we evaluate our problems in terms of space and time, is because that all of our computers might be different, right? Right now, I have a beast of a computer next to me that has a Threadripper in it and a 3090 that will solve certain problems way faster than my laptop that's above it. So when we're talking about the efficiency of our algorithms, right? I don't really care about necessarily like the speed at which my laptop or my desktop might differ. We care about rough estimates. We care about generalizations, right? We care about theoretically how long something might take, or theoretically how much space something will take up, because there are common complexities that we can all agree on will be faster or slower. And there's really only 4 that you really need to know about, technically really 3. And so I'm going to show you the common complexities that you must know. And if you know these common complexities, you will stand out in a few extra interviews that you go through. Cool. Alrighty, so let's look at some of these common complexities. When we're evaluating, and remember, we have a whole class on this, by the way, so we're kind of going through this a little bit quicker. We have, let's see, we have like 15 minutes or so in our normal class time. We do have a full class where we break this down, so if you need to go in more in depth, you can. But I also recommend that you join us for our stand-up, because not only do we go into this in depth, but we do it for every single problem. So after like a week of 2 of looking at these complexities and talking about problems, it kind of becomes second nature. So we have kind of like 4 big ones here. We have quadratic, linear, logarithmic, and constant time. And all this describes is like, as I put more inputs into my solution, how much time does it take? And sometimes, right? Sometimes when I put more inputs in, I get a consistent amount of time. And sometimes when I put in more inputs, the amount of time it takes to get a solution goes way, way up, right? It goes way, way, way up. And sometimes no matter how many inputs I have, it never takes any more time. So we're going to break down these very common complexities so we can see how different solutions all work, or different algorithms work. Remembering big O is trouble for me. Any easy way to do this? Spaced repetition. You can do exclamation point study tips if you've never heard of spaced repetition before, but that's what you do. This should be in your Anki deck. All right. Constant time. You might hear it referred to as O1, ordered one, but the more kind of common term for it will be constant time. That means for no matter how many inputs we have, right? No matter how many inputs we have, we only have to do one operation, right? So I could put 1,000,000 inputs in, but I would still only do one thing that takes effort. Let me go and take a look at this. Here's an array. This array has 5 numbers in it, and I want the first number. How many operations do I have to do to get this first number? Chat. I have an array with 5 numbers in it. How many operations do I need to do to get the first number? One operation, exactly. What if there were 1,000,000 numbers in my array? So 1,000,000 inputs. What if I had 1,000,000 inputs in my array? How many operations would I need to perform to get the first number? 1, right? Exactly. So no matter how many inputs I have, no matter how big my set of inputs becomes, I'm only ever doing one operation. We call that constant time. No matter how the inputs change, I'm only doing one thing and it remains constant. So constant time. The next big complexity is O of n, or linear time. So you might hear this as order n, linear scaling, but this means for every input we have, we do one operation, right? For every input that you have, you do one operation. So here is a loop, right? I am going to add all of these numbers to a sum, all right? So right now, how many times will my loop run? If you're looking at this, how many times will my loop run? Five times. There are 5 inputs and my loop will run 5 times. If there were 100 elements in my array, how many times would my loop run? There are 100 elements, it would run 100 times. Exactly. That's linear. For every input I add, I do one more operation. So here is a linear complexity. Typically, when you see a for loop, your alarm bell should be going off that, oh, this is not happening in a constant time. This might be happening in a linear time. And so once you start realizing these little clues that like, oh, I'm doing one operation for each input, the alarm bell should be going off. It's a linear complexity. Now, the beautiful thing is that if you know really advanced algorithms, you can turn what would have been a linear complexity into a constant time complexity in this case. So there's a really cool math trick, Gauss's trick or Gauss's theorem, depending on what you want to call it, where if you have an array of integers that are continuous and in order, meaning you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, you can get the sum of this array of numbers by just utilizing the last number in the array. So if you get the last number in the array and you times that last number by the last number plus 1 divided by 2, that gives you the sum of all the numbers in this array, which blew my mind the first time I heard it. You mean that I don't have to add them all individually if I know this trick? And that is true. If you know this trick and you're working with a very specific, right, a very specific circumstance, right, continuous, right, and in order, you would just need the last item to calculate the sum. So where we had before a linear solution, you could actually do it in constant time because you only need the last element. So that's why some people, right? That's why some people spend a lot of time studying data structures and algorithms. there will be algorithms that enable you to solve certain problems way faster. We just went from linear to constant by knowing Gauss's theorem. Now, if you want to apply to top tier tech companies, you want to apply to FANG, you have to invest a lot of time in learning all these algorithms. And a lot of the algorithms aren't practical, they're utility. It's a trick or a trivia question. Do you know it or you do not know it, right? That's the only way it is. And so that's why I don't advocate going to FANG for your first company. It just is a waste of time to have to do this process when there are so many amazing companies out there that would hire you with great salaries where you don't have to spend 3 months grinding leak code until your eyes bleed. Cool. The last big one we're going to see here right now, there's 2 more that we'll look at. This one is the second to last, penultimate here, is quadratic, right? What if we wanted to see if our array contained duplicates, right? Well, here we have some really horrible code. We have a for loop that is inside of a for loop. And the way that this is going to work, Robo A, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. The way that this is going to work is that for every single input we add, our inside has to run that entire iteration. So if we are at the number 1 on the outside, we're going to have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 on the inside before our outside loop goes up to 2. So now we're on the outside loop of 2, and the inside loop has to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 again. The outside loop is 3, and then the inside loop does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 again. And we go up to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 again, right? And so the idea here is that for every single input that we added, if say we wanted to go all the way up to like 6, well then all those internal loops also had to do 6. So it's not, if we look at our scale here, that's not linear. That means for every single input we add, we're doing almost exponentially more work, right? So whenever you see like nested loops, alarm bells should be going off. Is this a quadratic solution? Is this a lot of work? For every one more input I add, I have to do all those inputs over again. And so you might be looking at a quadratic solution. In stand-up, we have seen nested loops that are not quadratic. So it's not an always true case. But if you're in an interview and you're seeing nested loops as your brute force solution, one of the things you might say to your interviewer is, hey, I know this is a quadratic solution, but I'm trying to get a solution on the board before we move on to a more optimal solution. And then what you do, right? And what you do is wind down the clock. If you do not know how to solve the problem optimally, spend a whole bucket load of time on your quadratic solution until you get to the end of the interview and say, you know what? I know this is quadratic. We don't have enough time to do it optimally. I know I can get it to linear. What I will do is follow up later via email with my linear solution. Then you come on to Discord and you say, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know, folks, I don't know how to solve this. Sorry, I didn't say guys. I don't want to say guys. Folks, I don't know how to solve this. Here's my quadratic. Help me get it to linear. And then you get it to linear. You send them an email. Here's my linear solution. So if you do prep, right? Prep can be a wonderful tool to stall when you don't know how to solve the problem. Getting a brute force solution on the board is great. And then just by saying, you know what, I know how to solve it optimally. We don't have enough time though. Gives you the door open to continue on in that process. So it's all quadratic. There's one more that I want to talk about, and that's logarithmic. There's a very famous algorithm, and we got very close to it, right? We got very close to it. If you were doing stand up, we went all the way from like array methods to linked lists to trees and other graph-like problems. And in a tree, we saw that we could have like something like a binary tree where we kind of have like halves to the tree. Well, anyway, we got close to getting to things that were logarithmic in terms of time complexity. Let's say we had an array with numbers 1 through 1,000,000, right? If we wanted to get the last number in this array, what type of complexity would that be, chat? If we had an array that went from 1 to 1,000,000, went the last number, what would that be? Yeah, we could do that in constant time, right? If I wanted to check if a number existed in an array, and I decided to loop through the number, checking each number from 1 to 1,000,000, what time complexity would that be? That would be linear, right? That'd be linear. Well, there's also another thing that we can do, right? There's another thing that we can do that is logarithmic, and it's a divide and conquer algorithm. There's a way of writing code that would take our numbers from 1 to 1,000,000, crack them in half, and see that this side from 1 to 499,999 was less than 1,000,000, and we would throw it away. Then we take that 500,000 to 1,000,000, we crack that in half and see that this left-hand side was less, and we throw it away. And we're going to keep cracking those pieces until we get to 1,000,000. Well, the beautiful thing is, since we are cracking and throwing away the half that we don't need, that's no longer linear. That is now logarithmic, meaning that if we look at our chart here, linear would take more time. But since we're getting rid of half the inputs each time, we're actually approaching something that doesn't get constant, but gets close, right? We get rid of a lot of the inputs by cracking in half and throwing it away. So if you know your data structures and algorithms, you can solve problems, but really just knowing these 4 is enough to do really well during your interviews. Like knowing if something is quadratic, linear, logarithmic, and constant time will help you stand out against a lot of folks. Most folks don't know any of this and don't know how to use it or apply it. If you want practice applying these complexities to the problems that you are solving, you should join us for stand up. And of course, committing these to memory is important. This should be part of your Anki deck. All right. Where are we at time-wise? Cool. We're exactly at our 3 hours. I have a few extra slides that we've seen here that kind of just re-emphasizes the process here of, is it something that's logarithmic? Is it something that's linear? But that's something we're going to get so much practice on together once we start doing stand-up. So what I want to do is I want to get to the Raffles, and we'll take it from there. Maybe we'll do a nice little raid before we end. Cool. Let's go ahead and let me set up the Raffle. This first Raffle is for individuals that completed the blog post and pushed their first blog post live from the Hashnode stream. So make sure that the first one, you've done that, because if you did not do that and you win this raffle, I ban you from everything. The second raffle will be open to everyone, and it is a job guarantee as well. So first one is just open to folks that did Hashnode, and then the second one will be open to everyone. So let's go ahead and start that process. So I'm going to open up a giveaway. Like I said, if you did not submit for the Hashnode prize, do not enter this raffle, this first one. If you did, let's go ahead. I'm going to open it here. All right, that one is open. You can do exclamation point raffle if you completed your first job, the first blog post, and submit it in the form. It was a while back, so go ahead and enter. I have my winners list over here. Alrighty, gonna leave it open. This was 2 weeks ago, or technically like a week ago that it was due. Exclamation point raffle if you did the blog post and submitted it. Otherwise it's a ban. I'm gonna give folks a few more seconds to get in here. Some tunes while we wait for folks to get in. Go for like another 30 seconds and then I'm gonna close it. Alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and close this first one and we'll do a next one that'll be open to everyone. And this one's gonna close in just a few seconds here. And we're gonna pick the winner. All right, closed. Picking the winner, 3, 2, 1. Oh, Rossi, yes, with the job guarantee. Let's go. Let's go. All right, Rossi, send me a DM on Discord, please, and we'll get it started. Let's go. Now, this next one is for anyone that checked in today. So you had to have checked in, exclamation point check in. The way you check in is by liking and retweeting the post from today. You can do exclamation point check in if you haven't already done so. I'll give everybody a second. If you haven't already, go ahead and check in for the day, and then we'll open this raffle. Let me go ahead and open it. Complete. And let's go ahead and start giveaway. I'm gonna leave this open. Like I said, if you haven't liked and retweeted, do not enter this raffle or I will ban you from everything. I'll double check that after stream. All right, so make sure you've liked and retweeted that tweet. If you haven't, you'll be banned. I'm going to leave this open for another 30 seconds or so. Alrighty, get in here, get in here. All right, closing it in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Closed. Picking the winner. Ward. All right, Ward, go ahead and send me a message on Discord. Send me a message on Discord. Make sure you send me your Twitter name so I have it, so I can confirm that you did it before the raffle started. And let's go ahead, folks, and we're gonna end with a raid tonight. We haven't done a raid in a while. If you're new here, the raids give you channel points that you can use to redeem really cool stuff. You're gonna want to redeem some of the cool stuff we have coming up pretty soon. So Thursday, folks, is our last class, tiers. We're just gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna say a lot of thank yous. We're gonna spend some time celebrating. We're gonna talk about kind of graduation, all that cool fun stuff. We're gonna talk about 100 devs becoming 100 mentors. We're gonna talk about all these wonderful things. So I hope you can take some time out of Thursday to come join us, to just kind of reflect on all the wonderful things that we did. And I hope that you had some fun tonight, and just reviewing all the things that you need to get a job. I'm going to leave you with the thing that I think matters most. You are ready. You are worthy. You can do this. Follow the steps we talked about tonight. You'll get a job. If you need help, we're here to support you. I will see you all tomorrow at stand up. But before then, let's go ahead and raid. We're going to go raid our dear friend Rav. They're always helping us out on Discord. We haven't seen them in a minute. Let's go ahead and say hello. I'll see you all over there, folks. Peace. Have a wonderful night. It was great seeing you again. It's been too long. See you tomorrow, everybody.